So continuing in part 2, first we'll go through the main newspaper. So why South Indian states, they are in a rush to borrow? So reasons kya hai why we are seeing ki they are borrowing more than their planned state borrowing. So here we see Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, they have significantly ramped up their capital expenditure. This can be one of the possible reasons. So let's understand this thing in little detail. So are the southern states borrowing a lot? So yes, the answer is clearly yes. Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, they have borrowed much higher than what they had planned during the second quarter. So Karnataka is the only exception. The state during this period, it did not raise money at all, even though it had planned to borrow rupees 19,000 crores. So this is one of the trends जो recently visible है. How have the other states fared? So हम compare करते हैं performance of other states. So many states, they have borrowed less also. This has helped the overall borrowing of rupees 2.1 trillion to remain below the planned rupees 2.4 trillion rupees. So we are seeing कि रीजन क्या है इसके पीछे. सो बेटर देन एक्सपेक्टेड रेवेन्यू फ्लोज डिफरेंट स्टेट्स के, डेफिनेटली उनकी परफॉर्मेंस डिफरेंट रहेगी. सो दैट इज बेसिकली इट इज वन ऑफ द पॉसिबल रीजंस कि बेटर देन एक्सपेक्टेड रेवेन्यू फ्लोज जिन स्टेट्स ने कम बोरो किया है, दैट कैन बी वन ऑफ द रीजंस फॉर दिस. और इसके अलावा जो कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर रिलेटेड बोरोइंग है, इट कुड ऑल्सो बी लोअर एज द सेंटर इज ऑफरिंग 50-year इंटरेस्ट फ्री लोन्स फॉर दिस. So this can be one of the reasons जो बाकी North Indian states और Central Indian states they have been borrowing less. So major तो जो reason हो सकता है, that is performance at the revenue front. So why have southern states borrowed more? तो question ये उठता है. So this is for increased capital expenditure. तो increased capital expenditure के लिए भी उनको ज़्यादा borrow इसलिए करना पड़ रहा है because revenue front पे उनकी performance up to the mark नहीं रही है. And we are seeing कि Andhra Pradesh should have spent around rupees 15,000 crores on capital expenditure in the first 5 months of 2023-24, more than double the amount that is spent in the same period last year. Even Telangana, it has increased its capital expenditure nearly 3 times. So higher borrowing, it went towards funding the capital expenditure, improving the quality of expenditure. So जो reason of spending है, that is at least good, and उसमें बेसिकली कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी व्हेन इट कम्स टू रीपेमेंट ऑफ द अमाउंट, बिकॉज कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन कहीं ना कहीं इट लीड्स टू मोर इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ, बिजनेस एक्टिविटी ज्यादा जनरेट होगी, ज्यादा टैक्स रेवेन्यूज पॉसिबल हो सकते हैं फ्यूचर में. तो रीपेमेंट ऐसा मेजर कॉज ऑफ कंसर्न एसोसिएटेड नहीं है अगर आप बोरोड फंड्स को यूज कर रहे हो फॉर कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. सो अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, तो मेन रीजन यही है. सो यहाँ पे कॉस्ट की बात की गई है. सो that is one thing. So quote of the day is digital technology has been a force multiplier in achieving growth, inclusion, and innovation. But in a handful of cases, it has been observed that digital sector, it can naturally favor a handful of platforms. So this is coming from the chairman of Competition Commission of India. So digital technology ki wajah se, again, competition can also be we can say healthy competition can get distorted. So technology के positives and negatives दोनों exist करते हैं. So the role of Competition Commission of India is definitely important in order to identify such activities and ensure that they are not continued. Taking a financial express, so see the important topics. So जो हमारी domestic industry है, that is to accelerate the production activity, contribute to making India a global manufacturing hub. Focus was to understand and deliberate on increasing the manufacturing capacities across various sectors. Because when we talk about कौन से sector में India में major growth potential exist करता है, so the answer is manufacturing sector. So we are focusing in this only and trying to ensure कि कैसे India global manufacturing hub की तरह emerge हो सकता है, where we can see कि manufacturing sector can lead our growth pattern, our growth trajectory. And उसकी वजह से again जो हम बात करते हैं maximum even growth for the employment opportunities, so therein manufacturing sector, it can come to the forefront. So even food inflation, it is falling to 6.56% in September from 9.94% in the month of August. So major fall hum bol sakte hai. Cereals and spices prices, they're still elevated, and pulses, they firm up. So again, concerns at the same time that exist. So cereal inflation हमारे लिए अभी still cause of concern है. When we saw कि hilly states में we are seeing floods and disasters occurring, तो इसकी वजह से जो supply है वो disrupt हो रहा है. We are seeing even जो pattern of rainfall रहा during this monsoon season, that was also distorted. So we can't say कि deficient monsoon था, but जो pattern of rainfall था, that was distorted. So उसकी वजह से again agriculture produce के ऊपर भी negative impact हुआ है. That has been driving up the cereal inflation. And even core inflation, it drops to 42-month low of 4.5%. So it is much closer to the target level. So again, that is a good indication. So food inflation, एक ये हमारे लिए risk है. Easing tomato prices brings us to a comfortable situation. Vegetable prices, particularly tomatoes, LPG cost, they've contributed to this decline. Food inflation remained a concern due to factors like cereals and pulses. Despite rising crude oil prices, auto fuel prices, they have still, right now, they are steady. And RBI, it may keep the interest rate steady due to the recent inflation trends at the same time. So these are updates as far as the inflation is concerned. So inflationary pressure जो exist करता है, it warrants greater vigilance. So herein we are seeing conversation between a Union Finance Minister and the Governor of RBI. So domestic consumption और जो investment demand है, it will drive the economic growth of India. But जो inflationary pressure है, that exists as a challenge, and that is why greater vigilance becomes important. So Finance Ministry and RBI, their projection for India's economic growth is around 6.5% for the current financial year compared with 7.2% the previous financial year. And earlier this week, the International Monetary Fund also, they have raised India's economic growth forecast for 6.3%. So in terms of अगर हम outlook, overall outlook की बात करें, तो हमारा जो domestic consumption है और investment demand है, they are expected to continue driving our growth. Global and regional uncertainties definitely exist करती हैं. We need to deal with them, and जो domestic disruptions हैं, that may keep the inflationary pressures elevated in the coming months. But despite such a big challenge at the front of inflation, our momentum still continues and it remains strengthened and robust. So given the recent spike in food inflation in July and August, RBI has revised up its Q2 financial 24's projection to 6.4%. So some revision exercise has been undertaken. External sector की अगर हम बात करें, तो even that requires a closer watch to strengthen the merchandise export growth. So how we can increase our export growth, एक वो हमारे लिए challenge भी है जब हम again बात करते हैं कि how our growth is impacted because of external factors. So export sector वहाँ पे important हो जाते हैं. Improvement in external balance was accompanied by investor confidence in India. So even that is also important thing which is driving more FDIs towards India. Even FDI inflows also अगर आप बात करो, but comparatively we aim for higher FDI inflows, as that has been reflected कि जो हमारे foreign investment inflows है, they have been growing because इंडिया में अगर हम बात करते हैं इन्वेस्टर कॉन्फिडेंस का, तो द कॉन्फिडेंस इज कंपैरेटिवली हायर इन द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ इंडियन इकोनॉमी. सो that's there. We are seeing a decline in imports, and India के जो forex reserves and they have strengthened, and they stand at around $604 billion at the end of July 2023. The push for the connected vehicle technology needed from the government and the OEMs. So here we are pushing the automakers to deploy connected vehicle solutions, as it is a key ask for them to leapfrog in terms of innovation. So basically, connected vehicle technology, if we get basically more examples. So at a time when the government is looking to recommend the integration of vehicle to everything connectivity technology in cars to reduce the risk of accidents. So this is basically what the government is aiming for, and we are seeing the San Diego based Qualcomm Technologies, they have started tapping major automakers in the country to pitch its vehicle to everything communication chipset solutions. So even semiconductor जो industry में we are trying to explore different opportunities, set up semiconductor plants in India, तो वहाँ पे भी we are looking specifically in this thing, exploring this particular area. So herein we see कि जो market opportunity India में exist करती है for the connected technology, that is massive. So both two-wheelers, four-wheelers में growth in the air fiber, companies expansion plans in India, and क्या again उनके focus areas रहने वाले हैं. So definitely जो vehicle opportunity exist करती है, that is massive. Apart from this, what is the response of automakers to the vehicle to everything technology in India? So connected vehicles solutions, they are yet to see a significant take up from the automakers in India. Many players have shown interest also. And we are is basically what we are telling the Indian makers is how China has taken a lead in bringing the right compute and connectivity in the cars. So even definitely यहाँ पे भी India के लिए lessons are to learn from China. So China में cars जो हैं, they have become almost like phones. So it is no longer like a 7-year cycle and a 7-year support, and we see it only takes 2 years to come up with the next model of the cars with upgraded innovations. So that's how basically the automobile industry has been evolving in China. Like जब हम upgradation की बात करते हैं in vehicles, so like we have it in case of in mobile phones, कि every 2 years or every years they're coming up with new models, the brands are coming up with new models of mobile phones. So similarly, car industry maybe the similar trend is visible in case of China. So India में जो push है to drive the connected vehicle technology, that should not only come from the government side, but automakers also need to take a lead in order to understand कि right potential क्या है इस technology का, उनको क्या benefit हो सकता है, and specifically faster upgradation of vehicles में ये technology उनको massively help कर सकती है. So यहाँ पे again we need to drive 5G adoption right from phones to the automotive sector also. So enterprise is the other untouched area where we are again partnering with different companies. So focus is कैसे we can drive the 5G beyond just the consumer smartphones to enterprises also, and इसको हम कैसे leverage कर सकते हैं, even the Wi-Fi technology that we have. So these are some of the important nitty-gritties around this topic. Now we can move to the Indian Express newspaper. Pravesh, are you here?
Yes, Mansi, I'm here.
Okay, you can start with Indian Express.
Okay, so Sri Lanka says it has a deal on its China debts. So Sri Lanka government has confirmed that it has concluded a prelims deal with China on the restructuring of its debt, which is seen as a big step in a cash-strapped country's economic recovery. So the agreement in principle covers 4.2. So basically, we are not that much concerned about this because this is the diplomatic deal between these two independent sovereign countries. So let them deal out it, and it's not a big concern for us. So Delhi red flags terror reiterates stand on Palestine. So this is a statement by the MEA which has been given, where the official spokesperson, Mr. Arindam Bakshi, says that in response to question, we are universal obligation to observe international humanitarian law and there is also global responsibility to fight the menace of terrorism in all its form and manifestation. Aimed at Israel, at which, so this will come the next page. So रिटेल इन्फ्लेशन की हमने लास्ट पेपर में बात कर लिया कि कैसे वो ईज हो रहा है, and yeah, so Supreme Court is saying that we cannot kill child need to be balanced out rights of unborn child. So stating that the rights of a woman must trump when it comes to request for a medical termination of pregnancy, the Supreme Court said that Thursday it will have to balance out the rights of unborn child. CJI Chandrachud was heading a three-judge bench, took up married woman's request for ending a 26-week pregnancy, which obviously would have medical complications also to conduct that. And see, Justice Nagarantha said that petitioner decision not to continue with the pregnancy must be respected, and my judicial conscience doesn't permit. This is a statement given by Justice Hima Kohli to accept her request because which court will say the heartbeat of coitus will have life. So basically, this is a debate between the two sides of a coin, where one is saying the rights of the unborn child, and on the another we have the rights and the whole life of this lady who is having the 26 weeks pregnancy. Now it is a very complicated matter, very ethical, very rational matter to decide actually what should be done on moral basis. Because if we talk about morally, so obviously we should provide uh, the protection to the unborn child. But if we talk about the practicality, so we should allow, but we should allow the
Pravesh, you're not audible.
sorry Mansi for the disturbance. So yeah, so I was talking that the practicality की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो we should allow the abortion of 26-week pregnancy because if we talk about the more complications, the more complication is because the woman actually will have to face a lot of hardships in her life if her pregnancy will not be um, allowed to get aborted. So this is my suggestion on this topic.
So I would just go with the option ki firstly we need to be clear with the reasons why the woman wants to abort the child or do not want to have the child. And since we are saying it is also important to balance out the rights of the unborn child at the same time, so we can go ahead with basically not killing the child and ensuring once the child is born, the child is taken care of in the orphanage homes, and later on the child can also be, adopted. So according to me, this
So
needs
that is a major concern. Actually, if you talk about the adoption rate, that is very meager. If you talk about the agencies which are working, for an example, we have CARA. It is a statutory authority of the Ministry of Women and Child Development who actually provide these, children to families. According to its reports, the adoption rate is very, very less in India.
if not
And
adoption rate, they can be taken care of in the orphanage homes, right? Instead of killing the child, it is better that child comes to life and they lead a good life in the orphanage homes.
so, okay, that could be a humanistic approach, I
Yes.
would say.
Yeah, okay. So we can
Then yes, we were talking, yeah, the international humanitarian law की इंडिया बात कर रहा है कि उसको किस तरीके से इस सिचुएशन में लाना चाहिए. The targeted attacks against Israel civilians have claimed 1,300 lives on the Israeli side and death toll in Gaza because of the Israel airstrikes. The formulation global responsibility to fight the menace of terror in all its form and all its manifestation is a strong support to the Israel, and Prime Minister strongly equivocally condemns terrorism. So, New Delhi has reiterated its traditional position on the Israel Palestinian conflict, advocated the resumption of direct negotiations towards establishing a sovereign, independent, and viable state of Palestine, living within secure and recognized borders side by side at peace with Israel. So, obviously, we are talking from the last couple of days that obviously the dialogue should be there. So, again, the Minister of External Affairs and especially the New Delhi has provided the similar stance that both the stakeholders should come on a table and should try to identify each other's recognition in a better regard. So after saying yes, Canada speaker skips G20 meeting. So so here what we are seeing is that again strained relations between the Canada and India which are going on, where the Canada speaker is skipping the G20 meeting, and because what we saw that the Lifestyle Summit and Behavioral Evolution Summit, which was inaugurated by P20 Summit in Yakshadhumi, here where the speakers meet was there, the Canada speaker has skipped the G20 meeting, which shows a grave concern as far as the bilateral relations of both the countries are concerned. And this shows that how the Canada is fueling the matter without any cause and providing the safe havens to the terror-based organizations who are very much danger as far as the security and sovereignty of India is concerned. So developing border roads are the government priority. This is a statement which has been given by the Prime Minister in the Uttarakhand, and we are seeing that we are creating various various roads on the borders to have protection from the infiltrations, from the territorial annexations attempts which are done, especially on the eastern side by the China, and to provide the safety of our territorial integrity. We are creating smart villages there. We are creating roads, border infrastructure. We are creating um, infrastructure facilities. Dams constructions are happening on very large scale. So obviously, multiple development initiatives are being done in these hilly states. And yes, obviously, the temples and the temples construction as well as the temples protection is also very much pressed by the government. The security forces, if we talk about the ITBP, Army, and other paramilitary forces, so they have been provided um, various kinds of suits, equipments, arms, and ammunitions of the state and art technology so as to provide them hustle-free duty and free environment. So obviously, these are the good steps as far as the maintaining of our security apparatus is concerned. So again, what we are seeing that there is a derailment of a train which has happened in Bihar, and is a Bihar train accident. Among survivors, 39-year-old who lost wife and daughter. So this train was going from Delhi to Bihar, and हमारे लिए ये यहाँ पर इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है कि मतलब यहाँ पर ट्रेन जो है डिरेल हुई, हमारे यहाँ पर इम्पोर्टेंट ये है कि why we are seeing the frequent derailments of trains across the cities in India. In the last couple of months, we saw at Orissa, then we also saw at Maharashtra, then we are seeing it Bihar. So Mansi, I would like to ask you that what are the major investigation, fallouts which are not able to identify the grave roots of these derailments?
See, basically, when we talk about solutions, क्या हो सकते हैं इन issues के पीछे, behind which again, मतलब you're seeing कि कुछ failures in terms of the current system, which it functions in terms of the signals that exist. So how we can prevent such disasters? Firstly, we have the covered system, but covered system में अभी कितनी number of trains पे we have trains equipped with the covered system, वो एक question है. So कितनी जल्दी we can, expand this technology in all the railways which are working in India, that is important. And जो signaling system में जो again mismatch होता है या जो time delay अगर हम देखने को मिलता है जिसकी वजह से again हम disaster को prevent नहीं कर पाते, तो that needs to be looked into.
Okay.
The infrastructural level पे टेक्नोलॉजिकल लेवल पे वी हैव द सॉल्यूशंस फॉर दिस थिंग, और ह्यूमन एरर की वजह से अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम हो रही है तो अगेन वो उसके पीछे जो मेन रीजन है वो समझना भी इम्पोर्टेंट है, बिकॉज वी कांट इतने लाइक टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांस्ड टाइम्स में वी कांट go ahead or we can't accept this thing because of the human error we are having such massive kind of disasters and accidents happening.
तो इसी के साथ साथ टेक्नोलॉजी को यूज करना चाहिए. अगर सिग्नलिंग की बात है, प्रॉपर सिग्नल्स मैनेजमेंट शुड बी डन. Then GPS system should be deployed in each and every train, whether it is a goods train or the passenger trains. Apart from that, the special tracks should be created for the goods train so as to provide them feasibility, and the passenger and this management should be done very smoothly so as to provide the free way to both the type of trains. And apart from that, obviously we should increase the skills of the drivers to deal with such emergency situations, loco pilots, and yeah, apart from that, the technical information, obviously the train department and the railway department would have.
And definitely जो incidents होते even because of the train collisions also, trains coming from opposite direction, so even that is also a huge error कि you basically human error की वजह से ये कि you are not aware या फिर जो tracks change किए जाते because of the trains coming from the opposite direction, तो ये चीज भी बिल्कुल acceptable नहीं है.
और मुझे इसमें लगता है कि कई बार देखा ये भी गया है, स्पेशली इन द साउथर्न इंडिया, कि ट्रेन के जो एक्सीडेंट्स हो जाते हैं वो एनिमल कन्फ्लिक्ट की एनिमल जो
Collision
पासेज होता है उसकी वजह से भी हो जाते हैं, कोलिजन की वजह से, जैसे एलिफेंट कोलिजन हो जाता है. तो
हाँ.
ऑब्वियसली जो इनके ऊपर भी थोड़ा ध्यान देना चाहिए. ऑब्वियसली द फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट एंड द रेलवे मिनिस्ट्री शुड कोलैबोरेट एंड शुड प्रोवाइड a detailed mechanism to prevent such kind of crisis, which normally and frequently we see in southern states at most.
हाँ, और इसके लिए एक जो सोल्यूशन पे वर्क भी किया जा रहा है, दैट इज जो एनिमल कॉरिडोर्स क्रिएट किए जा रहे हैं लाइक फ्लाईओवर्स, सो दैट इवन एनिमल्स के लिए भी वो एक प्रॉब्लम ना रहे एंड रेलवे सेफ्टी भी बनी रहे.
आई थिंक वो एनिमल कॉरिडोर जो है उनकी भी मतलब एक रोबस्टनेस इस तरीके से देखी जानी चाहिए, क्योंकि देखा ये गया है कि जो एनिमल कॉरिडोर्स होते हैं उन कॉरिडोर से बाहर भी आकर कई बार एनिमल जो है ट्रैक
हाँ,
पर आ
वो
जाते हैं.
चीज यस डेफिनेटली रहती है.
हाँ, तो उसके लिए थोड़ा फेंसिंग, उसके लिए फेंसिंग करनी चाहिए, और इलेक्ट्रोक्यूशन वाली फेंसिंग ना हो, नॉर्मल फेंसिंग करनी चाहिए. बिकॉज हमने देखा है कि किस तरीके से जो केरला जैसा स्टेट है जहाँ पर इलेक्ट्रिक फेंसिंग की गई थी, वहां पर मोर देन डोजन हमारे एलिफेंट जो है मारे गए थे. So that was a grave concern highlighted by the Animal Welfare Authority of India. तो नॉर्मल फेंसिंग कर देनी चाहिए एंड हाईवे एंड टनल्स बना देने चाहिए.
को भी वो ब्रेक कर सकते हैं, तो वी कैन हैव लाइक टेक्नोलॉजी इन द टर्म्स ऑफ जो रिफ्लेक्टर्स हैं जो एनिमल्स एज एन लाइक अगर वहां पे जो फेंसिंग वाले एरिया में फिर डिप्लॉय दोज रिफ्लेक्टर्स, तो वो प्रिवेंट
Yes,
करेंगे
we can
उसको आगे.
deploy these reflectors. The thermal scanning we can also do for the identification of the movement of the animals, so as to prevent. And obviously, a proper communication mechanism should be developed between the forest and the railway local authorities. For an example, the time a train is passing from a corridor, so that information should be pre-handed to the forest department so as to check out whether the animals are on the tracks or not.
और एक और चीज कर सकते हैं कि व्हेन अ ट्रेन इज पासिंग थ्रू दीज एनिमल कॉरिडोर्स, तो स्पीड ऑफ द ट्रेन कैन आल्सो बी लिटिल बिट रेगुलेटेड सो दैट अगर इमीडिएटली कुछ ऐसा सडनली.
Yeah, emergency brake can be applied. Yes.
ओके, ओके, वी कैन टेक अप दिस आल्सो अनकन्वेंशनल वॉरफेयर.
So unconventional warfare tops anti-terror meet talks. So what we are seeing that anti-terror meets are happening in India by the Minister of Home Affairs at different locations. But because of the Israel-Hamas war, this matter has become a lot of attentive for the India's. And Delhi discussed the challenges of combating the unconventional warfare in light of ongoing conflict, where 33 foreign delegates, including from Israel, attended the conference. ये 2 दिन की हमारी कॉन्फ्रेंस थी बाय द नेशनल सिक्योरिटी गार्ड्स एंड टेरर एंटी टेरर स्ट्रेटजीज पर इस पे बात की गई. स्टेट पुलिस, सेंट्रल आर्म पुलिस फोर्सेस की रोबस्टनेस, उनकी फंक्शनिंग पे बात की गई. सो द बेसिक एम ऑफ कॉन्फ्रेंस was to achieve synergy and coordination among all the special units in India and friendly countries to prepare for unforeseen and unprecedented scenarios. Then but Israel was represented by embassy officials and टेक्नोलॉजी की हम बात कर रहे हैं कि टेक्नोलॉजी कैन नॉट रिप्लेस मैन पावर. टेक्नोलॉजी कैन बी ओवरवेल्म्ड विद नंबर्स एंड should be used by the special unit personnel to the highest level. Hamas fighters were able to breach Israel's high-tech perimeter wall by destroying sentry posts, dropping IDs from drones, demolishing the walls, bulldozer sources. So obviously, this is a failure of the intelligence, a failure of the security apparatus as far as Israel is concerned. And the wall was built to decrease manpower but collapsed in the face of greater manpower of the enemy. The conference titled Subconventional Threats. Driving the seminar, they held talks on threats of IDs, critical issues of responding to multi-city, multi-target terror attacks, तो बेसिकली ये जो टॉक्स हो रही हैं वो इसी तरीके से हो रही है कि किस तरीके से जो अनकन्वेंशनल वॉर से जो इसराइल के अंदर जो इन्फिल्ट्रेशन हुई और अटैक्स हो रहे हैं, इंडिया और अलग जो 33 कंट्री जो पार्टिसिपेंट हैं किस तरीके से उस चीज को प्रिवेंट कर सकती है।
और इवन अदर एग्जांपल्स ऑफ अनकन्वेंशनल वॉरफेयर की अगर हम बात करें तो टेक्नोलॉजी ड्रिवन वॉर या अटैक्स, उसके अलावा व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट दी साइबर अटैक्स, इवन दे फॉर्म अ पार्ट ऑफ इट। जो ड्रग ट्रेड चल रहा है, दैट इज आल्सो पार्ट ऑफ अनकन्वेंशनल काइंड ऑफ वॉरफेयर दैट इज गोइंग ऑन। So these can be the other examples.
Yes.
Okay, so this is also an important topic.
Misuse of social media is not an organized crime. NCM panel on new violence, but National Commission of Minorities, if it's saying such kind of statement on social media, so let's see what are their grounds. The event was disappointing. The whole episode snowballed due to the misuse of social media. However, it was not an organized crime. So NCM monitored the events that occurred during the violence proactively. New and Gurugram district, the commission has been at the forefront. The appeal for maintenance of peace and communal harmony, Lalpura, and the chairperson highlighted the commission's recent achievement in the matters related to minorities, including securities of Jain Dharm Gurus during this. I think um, I do not agree with the National Commission of Minorities chairperson's statement when he's saying that misuse of social media is not an organized crime. Because if we talk about the social media's role in fueling the hate, fueling the hatred in the society that leads to radicalization, extremism, and at last mob violence like related things. So obviously that is a pre-planned thing, that is an organized thing, which leads to serious criminal incidents in the society. So that saying that it is not an organized crime, it is. I think it. I don't agree with this.
Yes,
So if
even
you have,
I no, even I feel कि once the information is there on social media and it starts getting circulated, because जिस space पे वो circulate होती है तो automatically चीजें अपने आप एक तरीके से organized ही हो जाती हैं. When people get to know कि the time period and location, तो in a way जो सपोर्ट होता है किसी भी एक्टिविटी को, तो वो अपने आप ही ऑर्गेनाइज तरीके से निकल के आ रही हैं चीजें. तो
और मुझे लगता है कि आज के टाइम पे हमें ये बात कर रहे हैं कि ये ऑर्गेनाइज है नॉन ऑर्गेनाइज है, हमें बात ये करनी चाहिए कि किस तरीके से इसका मिसयूज ही ना हो.
यस. और इवन जो फेक न्यूज और वो हम कल बात कर रहे थे फैक्ट चेक यूनिट के बारे में, तो वो चीज भी कहीं ना कहीं यहाँ पे आनी चाहिए.
या इम्पोर्टेंट हो जाता है उसका रोल. So erroneous malified intent. So this is a political statement. We should not look at it. So Jammu and Kashmir police arrest major drug magnate from Ludhiana. So now what we are seeing that the regions who are having a lot of distance from the international borders, especially in the state of Punjab, they are also becoming the major drug centers of state as far as the drug trafficking, drug transboundary movement is concerned. So obviously, what we can do is that obviously the institutional initiatives we have, like NDPS के एक्ट है हमारे पास जिसके अंदर प्रोसिक्यूशन किया जाता है इन चीजों का, इनके ऊपर सर्वेलेंस रखी जाती है. और क्रॉस बॉर्डर इन्फिल्ट्रेशन ना उसके लिए हमारे पास बॉर्डर पर स्पेशल स्टाफ्स होते हैं, कस्टम्स होते हैं, कस्टम डिपार्टमेंट हु एक्चुअली चेक आउट द इंपोर्ट एंड एक्सपोर्ट आइटम्स एज टू प्रिवेंट दीज काइंड ऑफ ट्रैफिकिंग. इसी के साथ हमें कोशिश ये करनी चाहिए किस तरीके से हम एक, अगर क्राइम ऑर्गेनाइज हो सकता है सोशल मीडिया से, तो किस तरीके से जो क्राइम के ऊपर जो नकेल कसी जा सकती है बाय द अथॉरिटीज, बाय द स्टेट, वो किस तरीके से सोशल मीडिया से भी की जा सकती है. सो ऑब्वियसली ऑन सोशल मीडिया the public relations department should be created of police, of administration, so as to provide the basic inputs and the early information to the civil society so as to prevent such kind of things. प्रॉपर आइडेंटिफिकेशन, और जैसे लोगों को पता लगे तो प्रॉपर रिपोर्टिंग की जाए उसकी. और आई थिंक सोशल मीडिया कैन प्ले इंपॉर्टेंट रोल इन प्रोपोगेटिंग the government's initiatives and efforts in controlling these things so as to prevent the radicalization in the state, which is fueled by obviously the cross boundary drugs trafficking, human trafficking, and obviously the
And yes, and
arms and ammunition.
one of the solutions can be that when we are seeing ki drug trade is happening through the drone technology across the border, so we are also coming up with anti-drone system also in order to counter
Yeah,
this.
exactly. या तो ड्रोन्स में भी हमारे यहाँ थोड़ा देखना चाहिए, और जो हमारी जो कस्टम्स अथॉरिटी है स्पेशली जो इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट क्रॉस बाउंड्री मूवमेंट पर देखती है, उन्हें भी थोड़ा रोबस्ट उनके फंक्शनिंग करनी चाहिए, किस तरीके से वो टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज कर सकती है, ताकि जो छुपा के सामान लेकर आया जाता है उस पे जो है इफेक्टिव स्टेप्स लिए जाए.
Yes. So this we've already taken up a number of
Yeah,
times.
number of times.
We can taken this giant
So
ozone.
yeah, we can talk about giant ozone hole found over Antarctica. This is not a new, but yes, this is a very important reason to worry. Satellite measurements over Antarctica have detected a giant hole in the ozone layer above the frigid continent. The hole spans an area of 26 million square kilometers, 3 times the size of Brazil. Earth's atmosphere comprises 5 major layers. The lowermost is the troposphere, the strato, meso, thermo, exosphere. Ozone layer is a region where within the stratosphere 15 to 50 kilometers above the Earth's surface, and concentration of ozone is the highest in the zone. Critical for the planetary life as it absorbs the harmful ultraviolet rays directly coming from the sun. And obviously, if the ozone will not be there, it will become very difficult for us to live. It will lead to dermatological problems, skin problems, breathing problems, and number of other factors also. The depletion was first noticed in the early 90s and much more pronounced over the southern pole. The chief cause is a class of industrial chemicals like we have talked about CFC, chlorofluorocarbons, hydrofluorocarbons, global warming, and then other fossil fuels burning. Everything is combining the effects that is used extensively in the air conditioning refrigerators. Then to control this, we have the Montreal Protocol, which was signed in 1989 for the reduction of ozone depleting substances. The size of hole over the Antarctic is linked to unique meteorological conditions like temperature, pressure, wind speed, direction that prevails over the continent. The hole grows and shrinks throughout the year because of the different meteorological conditions running across the year, largest between the September and the November. The winds create a mini climate here, creating a shield over the Antarctica, preventing it from mixing with surrounding air. And when the winds die down, the hole closes. So obviously, what we are seeing that it's shrinking and it's um, widening is happening as far as the as well as the seasons are concerned, and could be due to particularly violent volcanic eruption of the coast of Tonga in 2022. Now, why is the reason to worry? The climate change has shown signs of undoing the progress made over the past 3 decades, have found that global warming induced wildfires more frequent and intense across the world. So Antarctic was on all whole in both 2020 were linked to wildfires. तो वाइल्ड फायर्स की जहां तक बात है, तो हमारे जो डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट अथॉरिटीज हैं, अगर हम बात करें नेशनल लेवल पे, तो हमारे यहाँ NDMA है, देन स्टेट पर SDMA और डिस्ट्रिक्ट में DDMA है. तो किस तरीके से जो फॉरेस्ट वाले हमारे जो स्टेट्स हैं, स्पेशली जो हिली स्टेट्स हैं और साउदर्न स्टेट्स और हमारे MP और छत्तीसगढ़ लाइक स्टेट्स हैं, यहाँ पर किस तरीके से सिनर्जाइज स्ट्रेटेजी होनी चाहिए कि वाइल्ड फायर को रोका जाए. ग्लोबल वार्मिंग को कम करने के लिए अलग अलग हमारे यहाँ स्टेप्स हैं, इंस्टीट्यूशनल रिफॉर्म्स हैं, जैसे कि हम वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट की बात करते हैं, उसके बाद हम फॉसिल फ्यूल्स पे रिलाई कम करने की बात करते हैं, और हम